Kalev Kallemets, and he joins us from Tallinn, University of Technology in Estonia.
Yeah, actually also founder of a company called Fermi Energia, and so I'm gonna more or less talk what we do and how to really achieve a significant annual new build with startup model application. For starters, you know, we have different kinds of apps. He has a lot of apps here. Originally, were a lot of technology companies that developed this app who are financing a lot of app development with startup financing. There are billions of euros and dollars being raised as we speak to this industry that employs millions of people. You have heard maybe Silicon Valley? This is where things are happening, where really guys have taken from zero to really significant levels some companies. There's some movie called, what is it called, Social Network or something, very good, about this guy called Mark Zuckerberg. So it explains a little bit about what the startup financing is. So we have a significant problem, I believe, and it's called BAU, business as usual. And the current setup is that nuclear will stay, even at a rapid transition, according to PP Energy Outlook, stay at 6% global energy output. So it will not contribute to effectively, according to business as usual, and even rapid transition into effective carbon reduction. And in OECD, democratic countries, we would have a 50% decline of nuclear power capacity. And the facts also speak for themselves. So renewable investments many times, 6 times larger than nuclear energy, and also in democratic countries the number is even smaller. And the World Nuclear Organization has this harmony goal of 25% nuclear for electricity generation, which means 33 gigawatts per annum. That's huge. And now it's 10, and also in democratic countries, quite little. This slide requires some explanation. This shows in the number above, so shows the net export or net import of particular price region in Nord Pool or North European power system. My country is this small one. We were last year net exporters. This year we are net importers because the CO2 prices in European Union. Yes, we have carbon trading. The CO2 price is 27 euros per ton right now, meaning that all coal but also gas-powered generation is under pressure from non-carbon power generation. Unfortunately, and it's very positive that many Western European governments have effective policies in place to phase out coal. For example, Netherlands, Germany by 2038, but this is a decline in terawatt capacity of Germany, how much they will decline. Also Poland, the plants were just built in 60s, and if some equipment runs out, it will be shut down. And even Finland has coal capacity. But unfortunately, at the same time, a lot of nuclear capacity will be shut down. They're just getting old. In UK, and very close to our market region is Ringhals 1, which will be shut down in less than 4 months. And Ringhals 2, meaning total loss of 13 terawatt hours of generation. And I think much fairer and relevant than talking capacity is to talking actual generation. And this is based on International Atomic Energy Agency numbers. So, and what is also happening is everybody believes that their security of supply will be secured with the imports from Norway. But guess what? Their net exports were 10 terawatt hours. And when you look at Sweden, then their net export capacity will decline significantly. So no, this is not a miracle silver bullet to secure security of supply. And why is actually security of supply important? It's very simple. If you don't have electricity, you don't have money. You don't have anything. You can't get into lifts. You can't access the buildings. You can't access even the internet. So it's really bad. So, and the large NPPs, as has been explained, really haven't been successful. I missed here, besides the bankruptcy of Chapter 11 process of Westinghouse, also Olkiluoto 3 was not so successful for Areva. Now it has a different name and went through reorganization by the government, which is still the owner. So every project, also including the Russian project in Finland, is going over schedule. So this is characteristic. And I think there are a lot of reasons. And actually the common reason is they are too large. They're too complicated. Complication is built into complication, and so very fundamentally they are not a climate saver, at least in OECD. So SMR deployments to reach like really 33 gigawatt hours, that means 110 units per annum. Okay, in non-open markets it's possible to do large units, but anyway we're talking tens of units per annum. And it can be profitable, especially in European Union, as the CO2 pricing is effective and the CO2 prices will increase. It means the power prices will also increase. And if also the coal capacities will be phased out. So, and the gas prices in Europe always will, as an importing region, will always remain higher. And very, really exciting designs are coming up, like General Hitachi Beaver X 300 and the new scale, which expect to be at levelized cost of 40 to 50 euros per megawatt hour. Smaller construction, and what is I think even more important is that it fundamentally changes the risk profile of an investment project. If you have instead of 7 billion, which investment, where you have to really pool a lot of really government, because there is no very little possibility to execute on non-government financing. And then you have complexity upon complexity, all the contracts that are between the partners. But 1 billion euro project, this is eminently financeable with private equity. Eminently. There is, I wouldn't say that you do all on equity, but you can raise like loan capital on that. And I think even profitably. One example is, or good interest rates. TVO last year, they released or sold 500 million euros of bonds at 2% interest rate. Not so bad. And with a small modular and different risk profile, you have a totally bigger market for more customers. And I would say that we really have to build a large number of new projects, meaning that if you're the one building project is like 7-year deployment, even that would be very short. Then you would have to have 300, 400, 500 NPP projects, sites in development any moment of time, any point of time. And my argument is that that's just not going to happen with the current setup of the utilities that we have in Europe. Or the States. The States is a little bit better. The fundamental problem that we have in Europe is that almost all of the utilities are owned by the government. And you have a massive agency problem when we talk economic terminology here. And I'm an economist. That the CEOs at the management board of these utilities, they are trained for risk reduction. They don't like political risk. If they start moving against the wind, against the political mainstream, which is the renewables, and then gas imports, then they will lose their jobs. Yeah, so they don't do it. And I see this as a clear market opportunity for private investors, private companies, to help the big utilities to start small modular reactor new build projects all over Europe. and maybe even in the States. Because even the big companies over there, they don't like the political risk. But the small companies have the ability to take risk. Startup financing is all about risk and reward. Not only risk that you jump into the crevice or something like that, but also reward. Because if you are successful, you get rewarded. That's how capitalism works. It is therefore unlikely that current utilities, especially in Europe, will be alone. I would emphasize alone will be able to initiate many new build projects. This is not happening right now. So very short startup financing 101. You start with your personal capital and then family and fools who are crazy enough to believe you. You raise some 100,000 euros. Well, I'm explaining actually what we did over the last 10 months. Then you add your little bit capital with convertible notes with people who believe in this project development and the team and the execution and the idea. You have 10 years runway, or let's say time to work to develop the idea. You have some people fully employed, some partially employed. You raise some more capital at a higher valuation, multiples of valuation, not diluting so much the founders and maintaining the management on your own. And then if the project really matures, you add investors for execution or the exit. Execution meaning that raising sufficient funding to have like sufficient equity for first SMR new build, like 200, 300 million is sufficient for raising additional project capital from external investors. Given that it is not first of a kind. It can be first of a kind in Europe, but not first of a kind in globally. So our business idea in Estonia is that we would very much see that the first of a kind is being deployed actually in the States or Canada, and then we would move to construction application in Estonia. Yeah, so startup financing really is a key driver in IT and clean tech business, also renewable energy business, for really large-scale capital and talent pooling. Because we're talking a lot of thousands of people that need to be pooled into this industry to deploy those gigawatts that we're talking about, who need to be motivated, who need to be energized, who need to be rewarded for the risk that they're taking with their lives. And you need a lot of billions and billions of capital, and you can't rely on World Bank alone or what have you, development agencies. So it's real business. And you have to recognize that the value in the startup business is not in the idea, but in the delivery. Over a year and year, maintaining your vision and executing it. Looking at renewable energy deployment, there's a real ecosystem of financing, and this needs to develop also in the nuclear finance, because and the logic is there that you move from one financing source to another financing source as you move forward with your project, and because I'm now talking like as a financial person, that the different financial sources have different risk profiles. They have different expectations on the return. Right? Pension funds, they're very happy with 4% return. Venture capital, they want higher return. Private equity wants even higher return. But their risk profile is also more suitable for this particular stage. So, and if you have multiple tens of projects, which is the case in the renewable energy, then it is for those companies possibility to choose. If we would have in Europe only like 3, 4, 5 nuclear new build projects, there is no ecosystem, right? But if you have like tens of different projects, then there is ability to choose the best execution team and really go for financing those projects. So, obviously, if you would go to IT business, there the money raised annually is hundreds of billions. And the lessons and innovations from our case is really building a team of different people, not just nuclear engineers, but also finance, and really people who understand energy industry and also who understand policy within, like policy making in your own country. Like I'm a former member of parliament, so I a little bit know about that. And the SMR deployment is, I believe, in my experience, startup financeable. At least we in Estonia have some kind of culture related to that. If you're using Skype, then you have some experience with using startup financed products. And the risk will be rewarded. So what we are doing now is a feasibility study, site assessments, development of know-how, public education, and they're really not 200 million euro investment. We're talking some millions of euros. You widen your shareholder structure, and looking how the Finns are able to build 2 new nuclear power plants, having industrial consumers as shareholders, and actually through that gaining the security of A, financing, having their balance sheet, and B, delivery of the power, right? Then you have risk reduction there. And also, as a startup company, you're able to propose to the sites of the nuclear power plant benefits that big utilities are not. Free power, because the nuclear power plant produces power. So, yeah, and actually we're developing a product for the utilities, reducing the risk, and then later they can move in, as previously was said, if they learn about the project and if they develop confidence about the project. So I would end with a quote that sometimes, in a way, imagination really is important. I wouldn't say that it takes it anywhere, but only with logic, only improving our current state-owned companies doing everything from A to B and not learning from other industries, that is not how we would achieve significant results. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kalev, and that we're out of time for that, so we might have some time for questions at the end. But let me first turn it over to Franz.